In 2021, following on from an unprecedented period of Masonic recess, Happy Hertfordshire reconvened and welcomed a new Provincial Grand Master. In this exclusive interview, we spoke to Right Worshipful Brother Paul Gower as he reflected on his 8 years as Provincial Grand Master for Hertfordshire, and we met Right Worshipful Brother Neil Connolly to look ahead to the coming years. We began by asking Brother Gower about the effect that he's had on the province during his years as our Provincial Grand Master.
Freemasonry has been around for 300 years, and it takes a long time for Freemasonry to change significantly. But there have been changes over time. Over the past 8 years, I wouldn't say there have been that many. We've become even more open and more public-facing. Our charity work has been much more community-focused. The recent pandemic has brought lots of opportunities for Freemasonry to involve itself in local communities. For this building we're in at the moment is used as a COVID vaccination centre. Now, you couldn't imagine that happening 10, 15 years ago. So the changes have been subtle, but they've been steady. But they haven't been urgent, shall we say. They have progressed at a pace that suits everybody who's involved. So overall, we are much more open, we're much more public-facing. I would like to think we're much friendlier. I have a great deal more respect for it now than I did before I started as PGM. It is, as you reach the higher levels of it, you do become acutely aware of just how much of an organisation it is, how much it takes to run it, how many really dedicated people you need to rely on to make sure the whole system runs smoothly. You need people who are going to do all sorts of different jobs. So my view on it has changed to the extent that when you join Masonry, you join your A-Lord, probably for the first 3 or 4 years, that's your only Masonic unit, your only Masonic connection. And that's what your world revolves around, your fellow Masons, your meetings, your festive boards. But as you progress further, you become increasingly aware of just how, not necessarily how large an organisation, but how important an organisation is, and how what it does influences, in I hope the right way, many outside organisations who look at us in a new light when they really begin to understand what exactly it is we do. That stems really from the Second World War, when there was a fear that Nazism would spread across the whole of Europe, and Freemasonry tended to shut its doors to publicity, and it took quite a while for that to be relaxed. It has been relaxed, it has relaxed considerably. It's been a slow progress rather than an overnight affair. Oh, 2 actually. The university scheme, which I was asked to set up in this province, and the formation of the Light Blues Club, both of which have been very successful ventures. The university scheme was set up in 2015. In that time we have initiated 11 graduates from the university. We haven't had any for the last 2 years because of the pandemic situation, of course, but 11 have come into the lodge. 2 of them have gone through to become Master of the Lodge, and a further 2 are the current wardens. That's been very successful and has introduced a lot of people into Masonry who would not otherwise, I suspect, have given it a thought. So that's been good. The other Light Blues Club is fantastic. They do remarkable work. Their charitable ambitions are extremely good. They've raised substantial sums of money, particularly for Mind, because of a tragic incident that occurred in the province. But they assist in so many ways, and the remarkable thing about them is they're so keen. You have to only drop a hint if you want something done, and we can deal with that. We're happy to deal with that, and they do it extremely well. So they're the two principal things. University scheme and the Light Blues Club. I wish them both well. I think what I miss most is the regular contact with the brethren. Not necessarily at meetings, but in all sorts of ways that you become involved with them. But there are things I should be glad to see the back of, shall we say. Is that there's quite a lot of administration to do. I'm looking forward to having more free time, and I'm involved in quite a number of other things, Masonically. So there will be no shortage of Masonic connections. What I won't miss is the time it takes me to carry out the duties as I would want to do them, and gives me more time to follow some of my hobbies, shall we say. Horse racing, my opera, my travelling, that sort of. Build a good team around you and delegate. It's very simple. You cannot possibly be able to do everything in the province that it needs to be done yourself. You must have a good team around you, and you must delegate the work. You must delegate responsibility. Ultimately, the buck stops with you, but a good team around you is an essential factor of being able to do a good job. There's a convention that when the new Provincial Grand Master is installed, the outgoing Provincial Grand Master stays out of the way for a period of time. That doesn't mean I won't be seen out and about. I still go to all the lodges I belong to. I'm still active in London. I'm still active in other orders. So there'll be plenty to keep me occupied. But there is a misconception that the outgoing Provincial Grand Master very much follows the City of London route with its Lord Mayor, that you are not there and not seen to be there for a year. That's actually incorrect. The Mayor of the City of London is installed in November, and his outgoing the Mayor is expected to not attend any official functions in the city until the following Easter. So it's not too long, probably 6-8 months perhaps. So I'm afraid I should be badgering to get back into the fold as soon as possible, but I have plenty of Masonic business to keep me occupied still.
On the 22nd of September 2021, Right Worshipful Brother Neil Connolly was installed as Provincial Grand Master for the province of Hertfordshire. We spoke to him before the ceremony and asked him how he felt about being offered such a high office.
I'll be quite frank with you, there was an initial feeling of trepidation, and that's mainly born of the legacy of being able to live up to the role of all those that have gone before. Having had a year to contemplate it and a slightly extended apprenticeship, I now fully appreciate what a privilege, huge privilege it is to be offered the role, but also tempered with the fact that there's an awful lot of work in running a province. So with regards to changes to within the province, I think we all have to acknowledge that Freemasonry is going through a change. It's a demographic one. It affects not only us, it affects everyone under the United Grand Lodge of England, and also to look at really what does success mean, where are the challenges that we have, and to just reflect on those and see if there's anything we can do to try and move us forward into a more modern way of thinking. And particularly as our new catchment has to be younger men, and we have to adapt and ensure that we can cater for that new style of member. Obviously not forgetting the old ones, but they were all working once too. Okay, coming to the provincial meeting on the 22nd of September, it's the first time that I've seen a Provincial Grand Master installed since Paul's meeting, where I was sitting very much on the back benches, having been a steward for some time. And so maybe I wasn't paying the attention that would now warrant the fact that I'm going to be taking up that role. However, I know that there's a good team there on the day to execute what they have to do, and I just have to play my part along the way. Two parts to the day though. The first thing is that I'm really looking forward to seeing many members of our province again after 18 months, and it's been quite a long time. So seeing some of those old faces again, and some of the younger ones, will be rather good. But on a personal note, it's really to be able to share that day with my father, who's coming up to 70 years in Freemasonry, and was the reason that I came into the fraternity in the first place. So outside of Freemasonry, and my main sort of hobbies and interests revolve around firstly my family, and secondly through mountaineering. I'm still trying to make my way through the Scottish Munros, which are hills over 3,000 feet, which is a lifetime's work, just like Freemasonry. and also scuba diving. And over the years that's taken me into the world of mixed gas and mixed gas rebreather diving and the research that goes with it. And all of those are a perfect prelude to a rather nice Scottish malt whisky or two, which I also rather enjoy. There's no denying that we're all really looking forward to getting back to our Masonic activity, but I think we also have to acknowledge that it's not going to be quite the same as it was and as free as it was beforehand. Really, I think we should all continue to practice some of those hygiene and other social measures that we've really become second nature to us over the last year or so. And if you don't feel very well, a couple of days before, make sure you take a test and make sure you are okay. Because we've all turned up to a meeting maybe with a little bit of, I think I've got the cold working on me, but perhaps now is the time to not do that, because after all, we were taught to be cautious. That's a very interesting question, and it's something that we've given quite a lot of thought to, bearing in mind that we have seen a decline in numbers over the last few years. And there are a number of factors. It's not just about the members and the number of members in a lodge. There are things like how many light blues do you have in progressive office? Do you have a regular and supportive LFI, which is backed by past masters and some of the more senior members of the lodge? Do the majority of the members turn up for meetings? You can have lodges where only half of the members are attending. And also how many guests they bring along, which also shows that the former things of a supportive LFI and progressive offices makes that lodge perhaps more desirable to visit. I think though finally it's really about the grand design of being happy and communicating happiness. Make your lodge an evening out that everyone wants to make that special effort to go to. That to me is what a successful lodge is about. As a final note, there are very few consistencies in the world these days, and I think that Masonry does provide that anchor for somebody to have in their life. But above all, there's the old adage of, if a good man joins, it'll make him better.